Welcome, everybody, to another glorious episode of the Put on Raiders podcast. I'm your host, Dwayne Douglas, along with Ryan Holmes, and we are podcasting off the beautiful shores of the Pacific Ocean. It's a beautiful day. And this is my winter. I'll take it. I will take it every time. As a former East Coaster myself, Ryan, how you doing today?
I'm doing good. Good win for the Raiders over the weekend. Good to see Rich Bisaccia come out and see no heart attacks at the end of the game. For won by double digits. That's good.
You remember when the former coach used to say we're allowed to get turnovers? I feel like saying to him, you're allowed to win games by more than one score. You're allowed to do that.
No heart medication needed last week, so that's good.
No, I it was nice to see it at halftime and you get a score, get another score, and then you're good to go. RTPOW podcast is my Twitter handle. Raiders Pod is for the show, and then RHOLM22 is for Ryan Holmes. You catch us on Instagram at other podcasts at Cover 3 Deep, at Put on Waivers _ podcast, and then at Put on Raiders podcast. So the show goes there as well as far as YouTube. 858-299-5592 is our text lines. Folks in San Francisco, Bronx, New York, Jackson, Mississippi, Paris, Texas, and Phoenix. I want to thank you guys for listening, guys and girls listening and watching the Put on Raiders podcast. So we're going to start off a little different because I know we have we got some folks who are avid listeners and also people who watch us on Instagram. So I got a couple of comments here. I just want to just go over real quick. So we can go over that one real quick. So we have, let's see here. I am not great at sharing. Do you see that? You see that comment? Can you see the comment?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, perfect. So, do you guys have any background? Do you guys have a video on your background? I'd be interested to hear how you guys know the game of football like you do, and the Raiders. Love the content. All right, and that is from Matt. Let's say Damley. I'll say Damley. If I butcher it, just don't worry about it. Thanks for the comment. For me, I played sports for a long period of time. I know I played sports for as long as I could until they told me I couldn't play no more. As far as that goes, my a lot of people in my family were football coaches. I know a couple of people who coach in the league. Worked in sports broadcasting at. It used to be CNN SI, worked at ESPN, stuff like that. So that's where I got a lot of knowledge, just kind of just rubbing elbows with those guys and just doing my own research. And then that's pretty much where I am, where I am now. My biggest thing is I love looking at the next up and coming coaches in the league and stuff like that. So will the Raiders be searching for an up-and-coming coach? I had a whole segment ready for that, and then Bisaccia went out and just blew the team out. So I was like, let's scratch that and hold this for the postseason. As far as that goes, anything else you want to add to your background, Matt? Ryan, for Matt.
Yeah, definitely. For me, it's more just being a fan growing up. I played a little bit in high school, more of a baseball player than football player, but football's always been my first love. Been a diehard Raiders fan since I was probably 4 or 5 years old, in the mid '80s. When I just got out of college, I was working in Phoenix. I got an opportunity to cut film for Arizona State when the great Andrew Walter was a quarterback there.
We know him.
I spent one fall with the video team there, working with XO system, cutting video after practice, and then kind of just wanting to watch film and break down film over the last 4 or 5 years, just getting my hands on the all 22, interacting with people on Twitter, reading books about offenses, West Coast offense, just trying to break everything down. So just a lot of work spending on learning the game, I would say, is where I've gotten most of my knowledge, and just with interactive and just being willing to have a growth mindset and read as much as I can about the sport.
Yeah. It's just, for me, it was just more, I wanted to know when something went wrong, I wanted to know why. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so this can't all be one person's fault. It's in football, it's like more of a collection of of faults in a lot of ways. Sometimes it is one person's fault. Sometimes it's 10 guys doing the right thing and then one guy missing a block and one guy running the wrong route, and that could be the reason, not getting the audible, all the stuff like that. So those are kind of reasons why I kind of like started to dive into the film as well. So it's kind of cool to do that stuff. It can kind of see why things and what concepts people are trying to run and all those things like that. It's kind of cool. N8U 08, always a great show. Thanks for the insight. 26-13, go Raiders. I believe this is a day ago. That one I think was before the Pittsburgh game. So thank you for listening and watching us on YouTube. Let's see if I can get a couple more in here. If not, it'll be the same. I want to do the same one. Let's go here. All right. And what do we got for this one? Awesome pod from Cali Cal. That one is the same. Let's go back here. I have some more in here too before I go to the next subject. Let's see here. That was it. That's probably the last one. And then Jason wants to know why don't they release the 650,000 emails, or at least the whole emails in question. You guys aren't too bright. This is a Atlantic attic for the Morris to keep his job, and it worked 22 votes. He won today. I mean, you can say what you want about it. It's the timing of it. They had it in June. When they released it, you could say, I mean, that's all about, whatever. The NFL is honestly not they as long as they don't threaten the antitrust, they're good. Like, they don't care about anything else. I mean, they're in charge of their whole league. So we can say what you want about it. I mean, I'm not, maybe the league wanted to make sure DeMorris won so they can negotiate with DeMorris. The evil is better than the evil you don't know. Take it from there as far as that goes, right?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that they're not releasing it because there were emails between people in the league office and the Washington football team they don't want the public to know about. There was a report today that those nude topless photos that got sent between Gruden and Allen also went from Allen to 4 or 5 people in the league office. So they just don't want to air their dirty laundry in public if they don't have to, and they're going to do everything they can not to.
They don't have to do it, so they're not going to until they're forced to do it. They're not going to do it. So as far as that goes, so thanks for the comments. Thanks for all those things. We have some questions as well from the text line. So later we'll get to those a little bit later. Rave on Sports, we're going to both be on that, right? This weekend. I know this is my first time going on it. If you download the app, you kind of go back and forth with us, Eagle fans. You're welcome to come on and talk about that. It's all just football fans doing some really cool things, right?
Yeah, definitely. I got a chance to host during the Raiders Steelers game. So basically, it's a Raiders fan or two like us in a chat room with someone from the other side. So this week it'll be an Eagles fan, and just going back and forth talking football. You have other people jumping in and out of the chat asking questions, breaking down the big plays in the game. There's an opportunity to talk some smack back and forth if you want to. You can rate and review the best plays of the week. There's options to do that. So it's definitely something that's enjoyable. You can download it either on the Apple Store or I believe they have it available in the Android app store as well. It's Rave on Sports, and just click on the game you want to go to and go ahead and talk away. It usually opens up about 10 minutes before kickoff. Cool.
Let's roll to the Twitter breakdown real quick. So this is one of my favorite plays of the game. You kind of broke that down with the all 22. And you can see Ryan's breakdowns on Twitter on RHOLM22 on Twitter. So here is Jonathan Abram. Can you break that down for us?
Yeah, this is a perfect example of cover 3 and kind of what the responsibilities are of players. I specifically highlight John Abram. on this play. He did get an interception, but you can see the Broncos are trying to run a curl concept behind him. He's the curl flat defender, so he's responsible for playing underneath the curl, but also for the receiver in the flat. So he has both players coming at him here. And you can kind of see he baits Teddy into the throw here. So Teddy's going to pump fake into the flat, but Abram doesn't buy it. He stays there and then kind of floats back underneath the curl. And when Teddy wants to come back and throw that curl route to the wide receiver there, Abram steps in front of it for the interception. And then you see, I believe it's Faison is the corner that has the deep third on that side. So he's behind him. So it's kind of a high-low option for the offense. And Teddy tried to move or bait Abram to jump the flat, and he didn't. He stayed in the curl window. So that's what this defense needs. They want him to throw the ball into the flat. And if he does, they're going to give up the 4 or 5 yard completion. And the thing is, quarterbacks, as easy as it sounds, like that's there all day against the cover 3 defense. But quarterbacks and offensive coordinators just won't call it over and over again. They get impatient, and then things like this happen where the quarterback's like, you know what, I'm tired of throwing the ball in the flat. I'm throwing this curl. I'm going to manipulate this defender and move him. Abram did a great job staying there and getting the interception.
The discipline, right? The discipline of playing within the defense is something we're seeing with Jonathan Abram this year, because the ability is there. He has a lot of talent, and he is a tremendous, between him and Denzel Perryman, I'm not sure who I enjoy watching hit the opposing team more. Both of those guys love to tackle. They really love to tackle as far as that goes. 1st and 10 real quick. Let's just whip around our league. What are your thoughts about this week in the NFL? Probably I think we're both in agreement that we would have both done what the Bills did at the end of that game. I think Sean McDermott you have a 6'5" quarterback, 6'7" quarterback, whatever Josh Allen's height is, to go for that win against the AFC opponent in the Tennessee Titans.
Definitely no problem with the call. That you convert that 98 out of 100 times. Just so happened it was one of the 2 times you don't. The quarterback slipped, fell down, didn't get the half yard or whatever they needed. But give them credit for going for it and going for the win. Even if they kicked the field and go to overtime, they couldn't stop Derrick Henry. He was a man-child, grown-ass man in that game. So if they have to kick off and lose the coin flip, Derrick Henry probably goes to the house anyway. So no problem with that call. Yeah. And to me, the more interesting thing around the league is you started to hear that Deshaun Watson rumor popped up again today, that there's a deal that might be done by Friday to send him to Miami.
Yeah, Stephen Ross.
I still don't know if I buy it. I don't buy the 3 first-round picks for a guy that you have no idea what's going to happen. I don't know if Houston's just trying to kick up some trade interest here 2 weeks before the deadline. Is Miami really ready to just ship Tua out of town? Does Houston even want Tua? Like, there's a lot of questions.
Well, the thing I read today was, and I'm not sure if you probably saw it, but they're trying to put a three teams in it so that Tua ends up in Washington. So Tua ends up Washington, and then it gives the clean slate for the Texans to just get all these picks. You figure they're going to get picks from Washington again, and if Tua ends up in Washington, why didn't you just trade up to get Justin Fields? Again, why didn't you trade up to get Justin Fields? And then it's not about just drafting this year; it's about drafting in the future. The QB classes coming out in the future are not like last year. So, but we're just guys with microphones as far as that goes.
Yeah, the QB class in the draft is not good. And then if you just whip around the league, I can think of probably 10 or 12 teams off the top of my head that don't have their quarterback for 2022 on their roster right now. So supply and demand for quarterbacks next year is going to be nowhere where it needs to be to satisfy all of these teams. And I don't know. Do we even know? Does Miami have the cap room to take on Deshaun Watson? I don't even know.
They don't. Well, I always just go by the fact that if they don't have a quarter, I didn't even check that part of it. But I think they're fine because teams who are not paying a quarterback usually have room. I think if you added him to the roster, some of those. Even if you sent away one of the corners, Byron Jones or Xavier Howard, that still would be. They would say, hey, we'll just draft one. We got our quarterback for the future. But
is Flores and Greer even going to be there next year? That's another question.
For me with Flores too, is Flores he stopped his from what he when you see a report come out that says he stopped his foot for Herbert. That's Flores' people doing that. Like that's
Yeah,
clearly like people with
that's the
Flores.
I didn't want this quarterback.
I didn't want this
That's Lane
quarterback.
Kiffin
Yes,
saying I didn't want Jamarcus Russell. I wanted
exactly.
Calvin
Calvin
Johnson.
Johnson. Exactly. So when those and I Lane, I agree with you. Was it, once I saw Jamarcus Russell take his shirt off, I was like, oh, I don't want that quarterback. I'm good. I'm good as far as that goes. Yeah. The Cards keep on. I talked a friend out of a bet. He was gonna take the Browns. I was like, listen, I don't know, man. Just like the Cardinals are they might not lose till week 10. Like let this game slide. Don't bet money on the Browns here. The Cardinals destroy them as far as that goes. They get a lead and then they let those pass rushers go get the quarterback. I guess the Patriots are 2-4. That's always a good thing. The wild game with the Cowboys. How is CeeDee Lamb's little at the end of the game not taunting?
Like, I can throw the flag. The game's over. So
I mean, carry it over. Carry the next game. I don't know.
Yeah. The college targeting rule is suspended for the first quarter. I don't know.
Yeah, probably.
The bigger news there is New England's 0-4 at home. So
that's amazing.
They got a lot of road games coming up. They haven't won a home game yet.
That's amazing.
And on the Cardinals, full disclosure, when we did our breakdowns, I picked them finishing fourth in the NFC West. I was way off, and I still don't know who's playing cornerback for them. I don't know if they can play defense at a high enough level when you get to the playoffs, but they're on their way to the playoffs right now for sure. With the way that offense is humming.
And that division is kind of falling. The division where we thought was going to be one of the best divisions in football is kind of falling apart. It's kind of falling apart by the seams because the Niners don't look like they're going to be a big time team. They could easily lose this week to the Colts.
Yeah. The Seahawks are facing injury too.
The Seahawks are not doing. Seahawks are, they talk about Cam Newton going to the Seahawks. We'll see. We'll see if they actually pull the trigger on that one. I don't know. Raiders win 34-24. It really, and when I went like that old sports adage, it really wasn't that close. It really wasn't. I mean, they had a little bit of a lull after they scored 10 points, but after that, they really purely dominated this game. First, I will give a couple things that I like, and then I'll have you come in, Ryan. I just off the bat, boom, Ruggs, get him involved. The guy is ridiculously talented. I love the fact that he just didn't go out of bounds. It could have been like a 4-yard gain. He just drove that cornerback out of bounds himself, picked up 7 yards, kind of set the tone as far as that goes. They ran just enough. They discovered this thing that we like to call play action in the National Football League, which is nice to see them actually run that, because when you have Jacobs in the game in the first quarter, whether you run the ball well or not, Ryan, play action is going to work because they don't know what you're going to do yet. So, I mean, obviously play action is going to be something when a game is tied or a game is close, you can always go to.
Oh, definitely play action on first down. What a concept. You don't have to run it to get into 2nd and 9.
I love it.
Yeah, I like the game plan right away. And it was clear that Olsen wanted to highlight Ruggs in this game. First play of the game, hit him on the quick out. First third down in the game, out and up to get him, draws a flag. First drive, let's hit him over the top on the post route. They had a third down that was covered, that was thrown away, where you saw them boot Carr out into the flat, try to hit him on the quick out there. Didn't work, but they wanted to get the ball in his hands on third down. Then there was kind of a lull there where they kind of went away from him. But you could see that they were trying to design plays for him. He was lining up on the backside of 3-by-1 formations. I don't remember Gruden ever doing that, and getting him one-on-one coverages there. They were moving him around in the bunch formations. He was at a different one of the 3 spots continuously. They still brought him in motion. Not quite as much, but they did it to kind of affect coverages. But you could see that Olsen was like, you know what? I'm going to use this guy, and we're going to highlight him in the passing game. And that's something we haven't seen John Gruden do since the opening game against Carolina last year. So that was impressive. To me, the 2 takeaways are they ran play action on 1st and 10 and took shots, and then they threw the ball on 3rd and short rather than trying to run into a brick wall. And you could tell Denver lined up bare front like every team they played this year. They covered up the center. They cover up the guards.
Mhm.
They're going to try to force those guys to move bodies inside, which the Raiders have not been good at doing. And the Raiders set them up, went play action, and took their shots down the field. And then you saw as the game went on, they kind of said, you know what, we're not running zone anymore. And they went to a lot of power, a lot of gap scheme. They did it in the red zone. So they changed up a lot of things. The route combinations were different. This was a very fun game to break down the all 22 because it's stuff that we've been waiting for and asking for. They ran a screen to a running back. They used
That's allowed.
Kenyon Drake. Yeah, they used Kenyon Drake. They set up that touchdown on the wheel route on the same drive 4 plays before. They ran a similar look in a 3-by-1 formation and threw the ball in the flat to him to set up that play. So you kind of saw a lot of things where you're like, this is pretty good. Like if they can keep mixing it up, and clearly defenses didn't know what to expect out of Olsen.
Yeah.
But he showed a lot of creativity in that game plan that we just haven't seen. And I'm the biggest Gruden apologist out there as far as offensive, creating game plans and getting matchups. I thought Greg Olsen did a better job than I've seen John Gruden do in the last year and a half with Ruggs and with Renfro. Waller was covered a lot. They didn't really use Waller as much, but he got those outside guys going, and he just found ways to put those players in positions to succeed. So it was very fun to watch.
And the touches, touches. Everybody has some touches. You mentioned Drake, and this had to be the week of the wheel route or throwing the ball down the field to the running back, because the Rams did it this week, the Bengals did it this week. A lot of teams threw the ball down the field to their running backs, and the Raiders did it with Drake. But Rashard touched the football, Monroe touched the football. They had a nice play action fake where they got where Carr zipped the pass right to Hunter Renfro. Edwards, had a dig route and then came back late in the game with a great one-handed catch that should have been pass interference. Thank God he caught it because they weren't going to call pass interference on that. So, spread the ball around, get a lot of people involved. People bring up 2016 a lot, because that was the last year we were actually relevant and good. So I understand why, but this offense is just so much more diverse and so much more talented. The backfield has 3 really, really great options for you. Running the football, catch the football out of the backfield. The tight end room is good. The wide receiver room is still untapped. When I looked at the yards of Henry Ruggs that he has almost as many yards and through 6 games than he did the entirety of last year's output. And he also has, more the most 20-yard catches of anybody in football right now, or tied for it or whatever. Carr is doing that stuff too, throwing the football down the field. I'll take a check down screen pass all day, but if you're going to give me 7 to 8, 20-yard completions in a ball game, I don't care what you do with the rest of the offense. You're going to be moving the football.
Yeah, the important thing on the screen is it was 2nd and 4. Gruden's run a couple, but it's 2nd and 20, 2nd and 18, like when in obvious situations.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And then just little things that I noticed within the offense. They had a 3-by-1 formation in the first half. Renfro was the number 3, so he was inside closest to the tackle. Then you saw Jacobs motion out to basically make it a 4-by-1. And what happened is you saw the defenders bump out. He got Renfro one-on-one with the linebacker Johnson, who can't run. He grabbed him. There should have been a penalty, but small things to just move the people around and get the matchups he wanted. He did it all game, and they took advantage of the linebackers of Denver, who we talked about back in our preview show. I didn't think that those guys can't cover, and we noticed that. And I just really thought that they mixed it up well enough. The play action was good enough, and you saw when they started to lean on that defensive line when they got up, that those offensive linemen kind of got into it. It was the best offensive game for the offensive linemen all year. Now there was still plays where Andre James completely whiffed on blocks. Parker missed some blocks. That's going to happen. Simpson got blocks. There was some penalties.
Simpson he got blew up a couple of times on some run plays.
Yeah. I thought Leatherwood looks much more comfortable inside. I don't think they're going to move him back out for the rest of this year. And then clearly by adding DJ Fluker, who played mostly right tackle last year for the Ravens, that gives them some options down the line in the future, especially if Incognito comes back as well to play on the interior. But the the Raiders' run game got it going just enough, and that's all they need. They don't need to run it 30, 40 times a game. They just need to run it enough to keep the teams off balance, and play action works. Whether you can run it or not, it's still going to draw the linebackers up, and you can open up voids behind them and hit those intermediate passes. And then the cover zero to Ruggs on 3rd and 12 down the field where he won that 50-50 jump ball. Like, I hope teams keep playing cover zero, because the Raiders are just keep throwing bombs down the field. So, keep bringing that pressure, and hopefully big plays can happen. And to your point, Ruggs has, I tweeted this out, he has 8 catches of 40 or more yards since last year, and that's the tied for the most with Devontae Adams in the entire NFL. And that's coming from a guy who didn't get any targets last year. So he's definitely winning down the field.
Yeah, and I mean, I love the jump balls. I mean, because I've been screaming for that, because the guy he's not James Jett, he's not Sam Grady. He is a guy he's a football player. We've seen the basketball highlights. Shout out to Bourbon
Dropped
Raider.
Sam Grady on me.
They're
gonna go Ron Brown.
I love Ron Brown. I used to love Ron Brown. I used to love Ron Brown.
Or Alexander Wright or Alvis Whitted, like those guys.
Can you imagine if Al Davidson right now, he would be in Jamaica right now saying Usain, come on. I know you can catch, so he's trying to get Usain Bolt. I did like also before I ask you a question about Carr, I do like the fact that they ran it. You talk about running the football just to a decent level, just to keep the defense off, keep defense honest. And I asked you, I think last week, the previous coach, if I told you that Josh Jacobs or Drake was gonna rip a 15-yard run, would you care what the formation was? And you obviously, anybody else would say no. The previous coach, he cared. Like, if it wasn't from his heavy formation, whatever he wants to do, then he didn't want it. You saw runs from RPO, you saw runs from under center, you saw runs from a lot of different power zone, all those things like that. I think they should kind of stick to maybe power a little bit right now, the way the offensive line is right now. But I mean, that's what I love about the game plan. How much Olsen is like almost like a godfather to Derek at this point. When he's been with him for so long, how much input do you think Derek had, especially with the previous coach being gone and being fired? If you notice, I'm trying not to say his name anymore. What do you think about Derek's input as far as him, sitting down with Olsen and kind of just getting things out that he wants to do?
Yeah, I don't know if it's a big difference from the previous coach. I'm sure Derek Carr had plenty of input during the week on the game plan, what he wants to run. That may change on Sundays. Mm-hmm. He might have a little bit more input during the game because Gruden might have been more stubborn. I'm going to call these plays. This is what we've come up with, where he might get a little bit more freedom with Olsen. I think the run game changes to me is what I'm curious about. I don't know if that's coming from Tom Cable. I would assume it is. Yeah. That Cable has a lot more input now on what they're going to run when they run the ball versus when Gruden was there. And just to see if that continues, is that a one-game thing based on the fronts that Denver runs, or is that something that's going to continue this week when Philadelphia comes in or when they go on the road to play the Giants? You did see a little bit of 13 personnel from Olsen, just enough to keep, to know they still have them in their back pocket. I thought it was interesting in the fourth quarter. You kind of saw that formation where you had 3 backs in the backfield, where you had Moreau and Ingold, almost like in a diamond formation, with Jacobs in the backfield. They ran it like 3 or 4 times. They ran it on that 3rd down. They tried to hit Ingold in the flat. Mm-hmm. I could easily see him coming back to that, because when I watched it on the All-22, if Von Miller doesn't come screaming off the edge, Foster Moreau is wide open.
Wide open. I said yes.
Wide open.
Thing. I said that.
So you saw Waller running the corner route. He pulls a defender. Obviously, a defender went into the flat with Ingold. And then coming underneath all of that is Foster Moreau. There's not anyone within 10 yards of him. So they're setting something up. Clearly, Olsen has that in his back pocket. They didn't need to show it, but he's clearly showing it, because he's going to try to set something up in the next couple of weeks. So when I'm watching the game next week or against the Giants and I see that formation, I'm really curious to see what they're going to run out of it.
Yeah, and of course, somebody needs to get Greg Olsen that Head and Shoulders commercial, because that dude has the best hair in the NFL as far as that goes.